Let's go. I wake up to a little bit of drool on my pillow, feel like it's gonna be a bad day. Yeah, I'm tired of shit, and the coffee ain't hit yet, damn, ain't that great. I don't wanna go to work, cause my boss is a jerk, and I'm not even that paid. I need a change in my life, cause I don't feel alive, and there's nothing that makes me happy.
Hey, what is up guys, and welcome back to the channel. So, after my last escapade in London, I'm finally out again to do some more watch shopping. Today we'll be trying to have a look at some pre-owned watches as well as some of the new releases which I've been interested in. It's a beautiful sunny day in London today, and currently I'm heading to the first spot, so stay tuned. So our first stop is the lovely Burlington Arcade, which is the home to various vintage and pre-owned sellers. I came across David Duggan watches first, and they had some nice high-end watches like your Pateks and Rolexes. They also had some cool vintage pieces on display too, as well as some Tudors and IWC models. But the prices, as with most London watch stores, were sky high, so I just took my time window shopping and moved on swiftly. Right next door was the Vintage Watch Company, and the cool thing about them is that they sell vintage Rolexes for each year, so the draw is you can easily find a vintage piece or even a birth year watch here. To be honest with you, with all the watches lined up like that, it was a bit overwhelming, so again, I window shopped and moved on. Another store for window shopping is Maunders, which had these astronomically priced Rolex and Richard Mille. Then I came across Somlo watches, which had some very interesting vintage pieces that I was interested in, such as the Universal Genève Ellipse and these vintage Omega Seamasters. They even had vintage pocket watches on display. Overall, the displays were very nicely presented. And here we have the 1982 Speedmaster, the classical moonwatch with the Hesalite crystal, manual movement and pudgy lugs. In hand, the difference to the modern moonwatch was quite remarkable actually. The bracelet on this one felt very flimsy, but nonetheless, it was cool to see a 1982 dated Speedy. Next up was a really cool piece, a vintage 1962 first Omega in Space model. Here you see the classic 39mm case and alpha hands. I don't know, there is just something so charming about the design of the first Omega in Space, and it was so surreal to see one in the flesh. If you ask me, I think these older models have more charm than the newer reissued FOIS models. Next up, I happened upon the Bell & Ross boutique in Burlington Arcade, as I had my eye on their new BR-X5 model. I'd always liked Bell & Ross, and I was close to getting their ceramic diver in the past, but I think this new BR-X5 model is much more handsomely designed and retains the iconic square case but in a sportier package. Especially this one in titanium with its power reserve indicator and enlarged date window. I love the machine case and the BR Cal 323 movement presented neatly in the back there, with 70 hours of power reserve and cost chronometer performance. I think the 41mm case wore well on my wrist, and yeah, just an amazing piece from Bell & Ross. I also saw the Lume Tech edition with the loomed case, and yeah, there's just something very special and cool about that piece. I also asked for their steel model to compare, and I found that surprisingly heavy. Like, honestly, it felt like a brick on my wrist. so I think I definitely prefer the titanium version. Coming out of Burlington Arcade, I headed into the Amiga boutique to have a look at the new Seamaster 300M and Speedmaster Pilot. The all-new Seamaster 300M brings back the microwave etched dial pattern and returns in a sleek monochrome colorway. A few other subtle changes include the reversion to the classic chapter ring markings and no date. It also comes in a new mesh bracelet which felt very nice and substantial. I kinda like this watch in person, and I thought that it looked very classy and upgraded compared to the older Seamaster 300M. The Speedmaster Pilot was another interesting one, coming in with an all-new dial configuration and with an automatic chronograph movement. Personally, the dial design and the colorway was a bit too eccentric for me, but it was still cool to see in person. Next up was the star of the show at Swiss Gallery UK, the Louis Erard X Cedric Jonat Le Regulator Mauve. And oh man, what can I say, it was love at first sight. Unique hexagonal dial with fine guilloche etching and the regulator sub-dial layout. Domed hexagonal sapphire crystal and a Celita SW266 movement with 38 hours of power reserve. This piece honestly felt like a piece of art, having it in my hand and observing the fine details of the watch. It also comes in at a perfect 39mm size. I've had my eye on this one for a while, and wow, it just exceeded my expectations in person. At the price, the dial work is just immaculate with how it plays with the light. While I was there, I was also introduced to Trillot with their Nuit Fantastique watch. This watch was also super impressive with this 40mm case, rotating disc complication, and micro rotor movement. Honestly, it was just an amazing time in Swiss Gallery, and if you had time to visit just one store in London, I would highly recommend this one. After a commute, I made my way to the Royal Exchange, which in itself is such a beautiful building that I'd never been to before. First stop was Watchfinder Co, as I was interested in seeing their pre-owned Breitling Navatimers. And here's the 2007 Navitimer with that Roman numeral dial, and coming in at £3,300, I thought it was such a good value proposition considering the new B01 Navitimer is almost twice the price. This one was so nicely sized for my wrist, and yeah, I think the more I browse, the harder it actually is getting to decide on my chronograph choice for my collection. What do you guys think? I also saw this cool chronomat model which I actually liked. This one just looked so tool-tastic and had a real aviation or engineer vibe to it. Comparing them side by side though, I think the Navitimer still wins out. Right next door, I came across the Bremont boutique, and I went in being interested in their new Supermarine divers. And seeing them in person, they were actually quite handsome, albeit maybe too vanilla or boring to some. But comparing them to the old generation, you can really see that they look more elevated and classy. A really cool piece that I came across was their Supermarine 500m ceramic in jungle green. This one had a bit of a Tudor Pelagos FXD vibe with this canvas strap and overall felt very cool. .43mm in size and of course with 500 meters of water resistance. It comes in 2 limited colorways. Finally, I also saw the Supermarine GMT, which is nice, but if you know me, no Pepsi colorway was a deal breaker. The next day, I headed up to Stratford to check out Tag Heuer. Tag Heuer's reassignment as the official timekeepers of the F1 was exciting news, so I went to check out their all-new Formula 1 chrono. And in hand, I was honestly so impressed. 44mm in diameter by 14.5mm thick, the watch looked very sleek with this stacked case in sandblasted grade 2 titanium and black DLC coating. Inside is the caliber 16 automatic chronograph movement with 42 hours of power reserve and a surprising 200 meters of water resistance. I just loved the angular design of the case, and I kinda thought that it resembled the chamfers of the race car body kits. The watch comes in 3 new colorways and this exclusive Red Bull racing color with that racetrack dial. And I don't know, I think after my Bozell, I developed a liking for DLC watches that look kind of cheap or lower end, but if you know, you know. And finally, I went over to the Breitling boutique for the 41mm B01 Navitimer, but it was out of stock. So I checked out the top time, which I had never really had on my radar before. It's another 41mm B01 chronograph but with a more motorsports design. I tried giving it a chance, but I thought that the squared subdials looked a bit weird and threw off the dial design. They also had the new Six Nations chronomats in stores, so I checked out the striped brush dials in person. These were also a nice expansion to the 40mm Chronomat GMT range, and that dial does give it the right amount of pizzazz. So that was it for my second watch shopping adventure in London. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll catch you again next time.